Wizards. Today we're going to talk about gold and silver. Okay. Yes. You start back. Really, where we need to start is when this time frame when gold, or the U.S. dollar rather, came off the gold standard, and along with the rest of the world. There's a history lesson. You can read about that all over the internet. The internet never lies. So go ahead and read about that. But from then on, gold has just been impulsing. All right, straight from the early 70s here, late 60s, early 70s. Just here's a 1, and then you get a zigzag for 2, and then you get an impulse for 1, and you get a zigzag for 2. All right. You can zoom into with these. I kind of labeled them. I have them labeled on smaller time frames, but you have a zigzag here, a flat for X, a zigzag for Y. Okay. You have another one too. Second wave is a double 3, which would be a zigzag to a flat combination. You have another impulse here, followed by a zigzag, another impulse here, followed by a zigzag. And that's what brings us to present day. It's just 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, right, until we start printing 3 4s. Just drop the time frame a bit so we can see the subdivisions here. I'll just focus on the most recent price action here instead of like going back forever. But here's the double 3 I was talking about, the zigzag to flat combination. This impulse is a little funky, but it's legal. You have an extended first wave, a flat for wave 2, impulse for 3, a regular triangle for wave 4, which is alternation, because you got your flat for wave 1, which broke the high and came down. So you have alternation between 2 and 4. Now, before you say, oh my gosh, 4 went into 1, it didn't. Okay, the rule is the end of wave 4 cannot go into wave 1. And here's the end of wave 4, it's 1751-ish, and the end of wave 1 here is 1689-ish. Okay, so that rule is not broken. And an impulse for the 5th wave into wave 1. Zigzag wave 2, we can come drop time frames here. Let's come down to the, say, the 2 hour. Okay. There we go. There's our zigzag. So we got 5 down into A, B, and a diagonal into C. A, B, C, zigzag for the second wave here, and then a double zigzag. So an impulse up for 1, a double zigzag, so zigzag, X, zigzag, double zigzag for wave 2, and then you've started another impulse up for an intermediate wave 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's all labeled down to the hourly. Another zigzag here for another wave 2, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down for A, triangle B, thrust for C, for another wave 2, right here, and we've begun. I'm going to drop time frames again to zoom in to where we're at now. Okay, we have another wave 1, an expanded flat for wave 2, another wave 1, a zigzag for wave 2, and that brings us to present day, where we've already impulsed up. You can see on this time 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, zigzag for 2. It's probably got one more low left in it, and then we should be off to the races. Okay, that brings us to present day. Now this impulse here is a little hairy. I took a lot of time on this one. Essentially, we're down in very small time frames, okay? But I have 1, 2, and then an extended third here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a 3, 4, and 5. Okay, we're in very small time frames now. There is one slight little right here in this 4. Okay, right there. You could see that that candle goes into wave 1 a little bit here, okay, which is allowable. Something like that is allowable in fast-moving leveraged markets. It's in the book. Go ahead and look it up yourself. It's there. Okay, now you don't want to be bodying candles down here. That wouldn't be allowable. Okay, but just wicks touching each other ever so slightly is an allowable infraction of the wave 1 or wave 4 rule for an impulse. So therefore it's labeled like that. Now I'll get into the alternate count in a moment where from the larger time frame this does look like a zigzag, but it cannot be a zigzag, okay? Unless this is also a zigzag. It's the only, and this one subdivides very nicely as an impulse, okay? Regardless, the alternate count, which I'll show you in a moment, it honestly doesn't matter whether this is a zigzag and a zigzag or an impulse and an impulse. It doesn't matter either way. But for the impulsive count, it does matter, and this is an impulse, and this has to also be an impulse. So, if you don't understand what I mean, feel free to join the Discord. I explain all things Elliott wave in there. You can ask all the questions you want. You can access all my charts. I have lots of them. You could save them as your own. They're yours to keep forever. Ask away. It's part of, we have a community of people that do Elliott wave all the time. It's a free trial for a month. You can give it a shot. Okay, but this is the primary bullish count for gold. I've had gold videos in the past. Played out well so far. This is how Elliott says to count. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, until it tells you not to do so anymore. Okay, and the invalidation for this count is right here. This low right here. That would be the invalidation for this entire thing. Right? Even breaking this low is not an invalidation. This can turn out to be a double zigzag if it wants to, as long as this low doesn't break. Okay. Now I know some people are confused right now because you're like, well, why can't that be a double zigzag if that one's an impulse, right? Because the reason is because you can't have, if this is going to be corrective. Now let me show the alternate count so I can show you why. Okay, let me come down to the same time frame. All right, so here's the alternate count. Right, this is the reason why. Because if you're going to have a three-wave move, right, we're going to say that this is a zigzag and not 1, 2, 1, 2, right? If this is a zigzag, you cannot have an impulse and a zigzag. That's not a legal formation. It has to be 5, 5, 3, 5, right? 5, 3, 5. It has to be a zigzag. Now it can be a double zigzag, and if you somehow could count this is a zigzag and not an impulse, then you can count this is a zigzag and not an impulse. Now that would be legal. Okay, 2 zigzags would be a double zigzag, and that would be labeled W, X, and Y. Okay. One thing to watch out for with people who practice Elliott wave, you'll see a lot of counts on the internet. Other people put out videos and so on and so forth where they just go what I call combination hell. They'll just combinations within combinations within combinations. That's not legal. Okay. Combinations cannot combine. It's in the book. It's very clear and it's not open to interpretation. It says that combination patterns are combinations of simple corrections. You have very few options to make a combination pattern. For a zigzag combination pattern, it has to be zigzags. Simple zigzags. 5, 3, 5. Simple zigzags. That's the only thing it can be. You cannot combine double combinations. It can't. It's not a legal formation. So anybody who out there who's showing double zigzags as a Y wave or a W, it can't happen. It's not legal, and they're 100%, no questions asked, absolutely wrong. Okay? So, it's a good thing to know, though. Why is it a good thing to know? Because it tells you what it can't be, which is just as important as knowing what it can be. Okay? So, this would be the alternate interpretation here. And now, as you can see, I have a Y wave here. Right? That is a normal zigzag for a Y wave. Right? Y waves are allowed to be simple zigzags. So if we come out to the weekly here, Y waves cannot be double zigzags. Okay. So you have triple zigzag, double zigzag. The Y wave is this zigzag. So you would have to somehow make this a zigzag. You have a correction, and this a zigzag. That is legal. So the larger count would then assume the 3 is still here, but this was a triple zigzag, which looked kind of funny, I'm not going to lie. This is why it's the alternate count, okay? Let me come back over here to show you how this is a triple zigzag, and it's not pretty, but it's there, okay? I don't know why this is here. So you have zigzag X, zigzag, okay, because that's an impulse, that's a diagonal, zigzag for Y, but then you have to contend with these two, right? I don't know why some of these are like leftover labels here. Hold on, let me get rid of those. I don't know how those ended up there. Anyway, so zigzag X, zigzag X. It has to be another zigzag, right? So that, and this is not very convincing, I'm not going to lie. This would have to be some sort of diagonal, right? It would have to go like this, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. Okay. And, oh, actually, that's not even legal, but because this comes up too high. And that comes up too high. Yeah, this is not a very good count. Excuse me, I have a little bit of cold. Does this low break? Hold on. Now I'm in the midst of... This has to be here. What's this low here? 16, 17, 28, 16, 19. Okay, so it would have to be... This would have to end right here. All right, and this would have to be part of the structure to create another zigzag. Okay. But that's how you would get a triple zigzag out of it then. X, Y, and that would truncate slightly. It's probably a good clue to you that it's not a triple zigzag, but regardless, you have to go back in time to figure out what all this was if you're going to say that the future is corrective, right? So, that being said, let's come back to the bigger time frame here. You would have now, what we're making is a bigger wave 4, right? So you would have a triple zigzag A, all right, a double zigzag B. Okay, so this is a good way to think about double combinations and versus simple corrections. Okay, so combination patterns combine simple patterns. Simple patterns may combine either simple patterns or combinations. Right? So there's nothing wrong with an A wave being a combination and a B wave combination. C can't. C has to be 5. But A and B can be combination patterns. But a W wave cannot be a combination pattern. It has to be simple. It has to be ABC 535. Okay, or it could be a flat 335. Okay, but it cannot be 333 to have a W wave. Can't happen. It's not legal. But anyway, here the alternate count is that this was a zigzag and not 1 2 1 2 1 2. Okay, for your B wave, expanded B pocket, and you're going to get 5 down in a C wave to complete a bigger wave 4. Okay, your 3 ended here. In the primary count, this is the entirety of wave 4. In the alternate count, wave 4 is not done yet. All right. Now there's one more alternate, but that alternate is on the primary count. All right. So what I have labeled here is 1 2 1 2. Okay. But if we get now to a slightly bigger time frame, we go to say the 4 hour. All right. Then what we could do is say the 2 is not done yet. Right. Instead of this being wave 2, we can move this over here. Okay. And that you got a flat for wave A. Right. So same flat, but it's an A wave and not a wave 2. Boom, like that. And that this is a double zigzag for wave B. And then you're going to get 5 down in C right here. Okay. So while I say that this low is a invalidation, I'm sorry, this low. This low is an invalidation for the primary count. Okay, there is an alternate primary count as well. That this is all a flat. Now this B wave extension here seems a little bit big to be a B wave, I'm not going to lie. Okay, but there isn't necessarily a rule on how big B has to be, but it does look a little bit ridiculous. Not going to lie about that. And you would get, if true though, you would get 5 down, right? So you would be, it already looks kind of invalid because this very much looks like a zigzag, okay, and not an impulse. But give it the benefit of the doubt for a moment, and we'd have to dig in deeper later. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that would be your expanded flat for a wave 2. That is an alternate to the primary count. But until then, I'm going to do what Elliott says, and say 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, which means that for gold, if we come in down on the time frame here, we have a trade setup. Okay, you have a trade setup which looks like one more low. Okay, this looks like a zigzag. Okay, I mean actually come down on an even smaller time frame to look at this. All right, for your trade setup. I rarely am going to offer trade setups on YouTube, but you guys, your lucky day. I almost have 1,000 subscribers, so I'm 22 subs short as of the making of this video, so we'll consider this a 1,000 subscriber special with a trade setup that normally I only give in my Discord. But we have A, B, and then C is going to come down in 5 waves. So you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you're waiting on one more low, okay, and that would be a trade setup for gold. How I do things, you have to manage your risk. Okay, so what I teach is this is your stop. It's a wave 2 rule, right? Wave 2 cannot retrace 100% of wave 1. So you get one more low, and you could enter a risk-based approach for a long position with your stop down here, risking, I recommend 1%, a 1% risk, okay, if you're going to trade this at all. This is not financial advice. This is an educational session to show you a risk-based approach to entering a trade. Okay. Alternatively, you can wait for a reaction. So if you got this here, you can wait for a reaction up, down, and then you can get a bigger position size. All right. So that's where we stand with the gold. Let's pop on over to silver real quick. Silver. It's similar to gold. I'm not going to go over the whole history. I'll just look at like the past few years here. But we're at 1, 2. So you impulse up. You have an expanded flat 2. So that's 3, 3, 5 here. Expanded flat 2. Another 1. So this would be a diagonal up to 1. Double zigzag 2. We come down to a smaller time frame. Excuse me. Here's the double zigzag in a more intricately subdivided form. So zigzag for W, simple pattern, zigzag. Okay, triangle for X, and a simple zigzag for Y. You have 2 extensions in wave 1. I'm sorry, you have 1, 2, and then you have 2 extensions in wave 3. Hold on, that's not right. This is supposed to be one extension, sorry. So 1, 2, 1, 2, first wave extension, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Just looked funny for a moment. A zigzag here for wave 2. Impulse up for wave 1. A zigzag for wave 2. And just like gold, 1 waiting on 2 to finish. And that's it for silver, and the alternate would be very similar to that. Okay, that this was a zigzag and not a 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, you'd essentially be looking for a regular flat in this case because you did not break the top of this, which would be your A wave. So this wave 2 would be your A wave instead of A wave 2, right? B wave, and then you're looking for 5 down, which would end somewhere around $20, maybe very so slightly beyond. Okay, but still in the vicinity of $20. It can come down to here, right? Maybe 19.90, something like that, in 5 waves. Would be your alternate for just a bigger wave 2, right? But until then, your invalidation for this is this low, the same as the type of thing as it got gold going on, so 21.87. And gold and silver should join the rocket ship together. The expectation here is you're going, right? You're going into your 3 of your 3 of your 3. So there we are, gold and silver in a nutshell. Next time, see ya.